that even mean, Bowers game?
Ahoy there, YouTube! I'm back again today for another game preview, another special Kickstarter preview. Today I'm very excited to check out Summit the board game from Inside Up Games. This is for 1 to 6 players, ages I'd say about 10 plus. And in this game, you are going to be trying to ascend to the top of a mountain and then make it back down safely. But along the way, you are going to have to deal with how much stuff you're carrying and how fast you can go, blizzards, all sorts of stuff like that in this game that plays both cooperative, competitive, and solo. Let's open it up and I'll show you how it works. Alrighty then, we're going to take a look at what you're going to get inside of Summit the board game. So before we get started, I do want to mention this is the promotional copy I have in front of me, so take everything you see here with a grain of salt, even though it already looks really good. I also want to mention that there is a lot going on in this game, so I'm not going to be able to get to everything, but I am going to do my best to give you a general feel for how the game is played. So first and foremost, we're going to handy dandy rule booklet. I'd say it's about 8 pages, double-sided, full color, full of pictures, illustrations, examples. And in the game, what you'll be doing is you are going to be taking your climber from the bottom camp and trying to get him to ascend all the way to the top of the mountain and then safely get back down. So the game plays 3 different game modes. There's cooperative and there's solo, and there's also competitive. I'm going to be covering the competitive mostly, but what you need to know about the cooperative and the solo is that they have their own special deck of cards, and they also have their own special little things over here you'll be utilizing to keep track of your Sherpas who will be carrying your stuff, and also your day timer here because you'll actually be keeping track of time. Some really cool concepts in there. But the competitive version of the game is going to have you racing up and racing down, and you're going to score points based on your karma level, which will be over here on the right, how good or bad you are to other people, and also how quickly you are able to ascend different parts of the mountain, which is going to be monitored over here on the position track. Also, along the way, we'll just go ahead and get to the board. You're going to see all these triangles right here. You are going to be filling these up with these guys right here, which are going to be your tiles. And these tiles are how you're going to move along the board. There's going to be a couple of different kinds of tiles that you will run into. Some will just be regular tiles with snow on them, which is to be expected. However, some of them are going to be bad tiles that you don't want to run into. Those are the ice tiles. Which are going to have more knots on them because the knots are these little guys right here. So for instance, if you wanted to go, this would be 1, 2 movements. Now, if you have a knot tile, let me see if I can grab one for you real quick and show you. There's going to be tighter knots. So yeah, so this, for instance, this would be 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's going to take you a lot more time to move up those tiles, but sometimes it's what you're going to have to do. So you're going to have these tiles, you're going to have a handful of these tiles, 3 of these, and you're going to be playing these, and then you're going to be using your movement to make it to the top. Now, how do you move? Well, that's this guy right here. And I'm going to try and walk you through this, because as I mentioned, there's a lot going on here. But in actuality, it's really very simple how this works. So this is your character right here. Right now, he has a movement of 6, which means he's able to move up 6. Eventually, though, that movement is going to go down based on how your health moves. So if you become unhealthy, you might go down 1, in which case you might only be able to move 5. Also, how much you're carrying, because items you carry, including food and gear, are going to weigh you down. So as you move, as you carry more, you are going to become slower, which brings out across the theme. Also, you're going to have oxygen, because you're going to need oxygen, because obviously, well, you're on a mountain. And the more oxygen you carry, once again, you guessed it, the more your weight you're going to have, and the slower you're going to move. Last but not least, you have your food right there, and you're going to be needing to eat food every time snow comes, blizzard comes, all sorts of stuff like that. In addition, each player is also going to have their own unique special ability. And there are going to be 6 of these guys. So everybody's going to be having their own unique special abilities as they play through the game. So, next let's go over the different kinds of cards you're going to be having in the game. As I alluded to earlier, there was something over here called the Karma Track. Because what's going to happen is you're going to be climbing up this mountain, and sometimes people will try to pass you, sometimes people will play cards on you, and these will either negatively or positively impact your karma depending on what kind of cards you get. And you're going to have a hand of these karma cards right here, which will do various different things to raise or lower your karma. Because while it is in your advantage to lower your karma, because that's going to slow down your opponents, at the same time, that also will lower your points at the end of the game. It's a delicate balancing act because you want to be fast. Because if you're fast, you move up the position track faster and you're going to get more points. But at the same time, you can still lose those points. So you really have to balance that out. Also, over here, we're going to have gear cards. And the gear cards are what you're going to start with. And there's going to be numerous different kinds of gear cards, and they'll have various different aspects on them. The grappling hook, once per turn, play a tile over an adjacent unoccupied tile, so that can be really helpful if there's an ice tile. But it's going to cost you 2 weight, which will make you slower. Guide, increase the hand size by 3, consume additional food every turn, so that's good, but, you know, eating that extra food might stink. So you're going to have various different ones, and there's actually this drafting aspect at the beginning of the game where you're going to draft the ones you want based on what they do and also based on how much they weigh. Once again, I'm going to mention this at the very end. There is a lot of modular, there's a lot of variability going on in this game. The last kind of cards we have are the event cards, because things are going to be happening as you're moving up and down here. Meteorological mix-up. Immediately reroll the weather die. Resolve only the worst of the 2 rolls. Appetite. If karma is greater than 5, ignore current requirements. If less than 5, double it. So these are going to be various different things that are going to happen when you roll these 2 dice over here. And you're going to roll this die half the time. Oh, actually, it's 2/6 of the time, nothing will happen. However, when you roll an E for the event, that means an event will happen. Likewise, we have our snow die right here, which will impact how much snow is going to be coming. But let's go over a mock turn so you can see exactly how this is going to work. Luckily, they include this handy dandy little cheat chart. So at the beginning of the game, you're going to start at your base camp, which will be down here. And there's, I don't know if you can really see it, but there's different spots down here because you can play different game modes. You can play Legendary, which is just crazy, where you have to get all the way to the top. I don't recommend trying that out, especially in your first couple games. Or you can go all the way to Chill, which is going to be a lot easier. But what you're going to be doing is you start off there, and at the beginning of the game you may choose not to move, and instead you can do one of these 3 options here. So you can get more items, you can get more supplies, or you can gain your health. But on your turn, generally what you're going to be doing most of the time is you're going to be able to move your current speed and place tiles as needed, because as I mentioned, you're going to start off with 3 tiles in your hand, assuming you don't have some gear that will positively or negatively impact that. You're going to skip move it and draw a new tile hand, which you can potentially do if all your tiles are pretty bad. You can skip move it and roll to remove the token card, or you can discard 1 karma card and then regain your hand. Because some of your karma cards might not help you out when you need them, because you are going to start with karma cards in your hand. So those are what you can do on your turn. Those are not things that you're required to do, but those are options. Now, here on the bottom, and I kind of like how they did this, are the things that you absolutely must do on your turn. So you're going to have to roll and resolve the event die. So you roll it up, and this time we would have to do an event which would negatively impact us. Could negatively impact us, I should say. Then do the weather die. And as I mentioned, the weather is going to get worse, and depending on how bad the weather is, you're going to have to eat more or less food. And as you can see over here, there is a blizzard track, which you're going to be keeping track of, and it's going to monitor how much oxygen and food you're going to be needing, and potentially if, well, you're all going to die, which can happen because, well, you're climbing up a dangerous mountain. Next, you're going to refill the tile and karma card things in your hand. So if you played 2 tiles and you only had 1 tile left, you're going to draw 2 new tiles, likewise with karma cards. Then you're going to pass the active player token, and this guy, and the dice clockwise. That's pretty much it. You're going to be rinsing, washing, repeating, climbing up, and then climbing down the mountain, trying to not be the first one down necessarily, but trying to get the most points at the end of the game, which will be however much you score on the position track and however much you have on the karma track. As I mentioned, there is also the cooperative version of the game, which is going to have the Sherpas carrying your stuff. And there's also the solo version of the game. A lot going on here, but that, in a crazy nutshell, is how Summit, the board game, is played. Alrighty then, Summit, the board game from Inside Up Games, coming to a Kickstarter near you very, very soon. I'll be sure to post that Kickstarter link down below. Who might be digging this game? First and foremost, if you're in the market for a variable game, this one definitely might fit that bill. Each game is going to be a little bit different because you're going to have different gear, you're going to have different climbers who have different special abilities, you're going to have different karma and event cards coming out, just lots of variable stuff going on in this game. Also, the game itself is a chameleon. You can play it solo, you can play it cooperative, you can play it competitive, and a nice aspect here is the solo and the cooperative don't feel like they were just tacked on. They actually have their own specific cards that you use for those variants, so that is nice as well. Last but not least, if you're looking for a game that's dripping theme, this one definitely will fit that bill. The theme comes across really well. You know, you're going to be rolling the dice, blizzards are going to be coming, and snow, and you're going to be eating, and you're going to get injured, and then you're going to be moving slower, and you're like, oh, I need to rest, so I need to get to the mid camp, the base camp, all that sort of stuff. It comes across, the theme comes across, which is always a good thing. So that is Summit the board game from Inside Up Games. If it looks like it might be your cup of tea, be sure to check out that Kickstarter link down below. If you enjoyed this preview, please be sure to click on the subscribe button down below in the comments below. Let me know. Climb a mountain. Have you ever done it? Would you like to ever do it? For me personally, yes. I really do have a legitimate interest in climbing a mountain. First and foremost, I've watched a lot of movies about it. I always just found it to be a very fascinating topic. And actually, after I watched The Secret Life of Walter Mitty last year, I told my wife, I was like, we're going to do it. We are going to climb a mountain the next time we go to Denver, because we go to Denver once every year or two. Last year, unfortunately, she was pregnant, so we couldn't do it. But the next time we go into Denver, I plan on climbing a mountain. I'm excited about that. But climbing a mountain, what do you think about it? Let me know in the comments below. As always, thanks for your time, YouTube.